Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble? This is the first episode of Patriotic Art Live. Super excited to start this project. This is going to be a weekly show with Paul Patriart from the UK. Paul, introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Paul. First name's Paul. Go under the name Patriot online, and I am the founder of the Patriotic Arts community.
Yes. So Paul and I have had this idea that we are going to do a weekly show. And this is going to be about us drawing or making art live on the show based on patriotic themes, white positive themes, pro Western themes. This show today will be the first theme is in response to the melting down of the Robert E. Lee statue. So if I'm sure our audiences understand what that means and what's happening, pretty savvy people in the audience know what's going on in the news. The melting down of the Robert E. Lee statue was turned into a kind of a celebration by leaders in the Black Lives Matter um, organization, if you want to call it that. And they had seats all around and turned it into a kind of a celebration, an execution, if you will. So this is a very grotesque attack on whites, on American history. We know that Black Lives Matter is funded by Marxists. It's not, a black person does not even run the organization, if you will. And so destroying our history, destroying our identity, making offense to us, and celebrating it is anti-whiteism, and there's many, many forms of that. So this is something that crosses over into the arts and into our world. So we decided this is definitely a theme that we have to explore here. So today, what I'm going to be doing is drawing a portrait of Robert E. Lee, and Patriart is going to be doing some digital art based on the theme. Will you be using a statue, or what kind of images will you be using?
So I'm going to be taking the iconic image of it being smolted. But I'm
Mm,
going to use some of the traditional face as well, just to bring out the details of the smoldering. Uh,
mm-hmm,
and I'm going to essentially build an environment or setting around it. And as I was mentioning before, sort of
mm-hmm.
some kind of if you look at my normal art, I tend to use a lot of statues anyway, but I
Yeah.
amplify the size in a sort of a landscape setting with sort of mountains and stuff in the backdrop. So I'm going
Okay.
to do something in my traditional style, but this is going to have the smoldering. It's going to have it's almost
Mm-hmm.
going to look like a hellish scene,
Mm,
and in the flames there will be some figures dancing, but then
mm, mm,
rising into the air, I am going to try and do some kind of smoke which resembles some kind of new birth and almost like a spiritual
mm,
kind of essence. And that
mm,
rebirth is like the many faces, which
mhm,
which is us as embodying that new
mm,
era of
mm,
Robert E. Lee.
mhm, mhm. So it's kind of not funny, but it's like strange funny in the way that events like this, they bring us together. They make
Mhm.
our resolve even stronger. And I always say that the sort of white identity movement is really a human rights movement in the sense that we are trying to save ourselves from white genocide.
Mhm.
Obviously, the common person thinks, oh well, genocide is some kind of bloody extermination event, but it takes many, many forms, and destroying someone's culture, changing the language, all of it really boils down to communism. It's just different forms of Marxism that we're coping with here. But
Yeah.
whites are on the target list here, and so the other thing too is that when this Robert E. Lee statue was first taken down, I did some research on Robert E. Lee, and I'm not an expert on his history, so I won't go too far into it. But it was totally contradictory, and it just demonstrated how Like, for example, he didn't want to go to war, and that there were aspects about him that, I think blacks would probably appreciate, just for example. But
Yeah.
what we're really doing here is protecting and recreating our own history. That's essentially what's happening here with what we're doing with our arts. You can
Yeah.
you can melt down a steel statue, but you can't melt down, the white biospirit. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And it's down to us to actually try and revive it in some other way, shape, or form. And even the
mhm,
power of a meme,
yeah, yeah,
this image becoming,
hmm,
a meme is really it living on. Robert E. living on from his not just
perfectly
his
said.
his memory from the statue, which he's
Yeah,
probably more popular than now than he was.
I
I
know,
mean,
I
I'd
know.
never heard of him
Uh,
before, but
okay, he's
it's
well known
very
in American history, but
right.
yeah, now he's like a superstar. So
Yeah, and he's literally risen from the grave even more,
wow, right, right,
he's going
right.
to be an iconic image for us to
Hmm.
um, kind of just remember, and look, this
Yes,
is we're being
right,
replaced. Um,
right. Now, just very recently, I did two memorial shows for Jeff Winston, who was the founder of the White Art Collective, and I played one of his songs as a song for Robert E. Lee, which is really, really beautiful. It's very well done. If people want to hear that song, you can just go back into my set list or my show list on this YouTube channel and listen to both of the shows there, and you'll hear Jeff's song. It's really touching. It's really, really touching. Jeff was a Midwesterner, and his family has been in America since the beginning, since the very beginning. So I think people like that have a very, very strong, like a stronger sense of identity, history, and how very important it is to preserve these things, to carry on these things. And then it's also a testament to the power of art, you know? I mean, it's funny how the left jokes about, not jokes, how they complain about, or they pull out, like, oh, the Nazis burned these books. Oh no, book burning, we have to, they're destroying history and culture. How ignorant. And then they go and do this. And again, it's all symbolic. It's all meant to deface and humiliate, demoralize, crush the spirit of whites. And it's intimidation. And to me, I really consider it domestic terrorism. I mean, let's say not me, but let's say somebody goes to a synagogue and like, smashes a graveyard or something like that.
yeah,
Would people not think of that as some kind of like, racial
well,
domestic terrorism?
yeah, of course. I mean, sorry, I'm going to bring my mic closer. Hopefully, there's enough space here. That should
So it
be.
just shows the double standard that whites have to live with every single day. And it,
Yeah, well, people have become desensitized to, derogatory comments towards whites. It's
mhm,
so prevalent in the media, and
yeah,
it's expected, and
mm,
um, we're
it's
kind of
in
accustomed to it.
commercials.
And plus,
Yeah,
I think also because we've always been like a dominant culture and proud of our history, and
yeah,
we've always been that kind of prestigious kind of group of people that
hmm,
have achieved a lot in the world. So
absolutely.
we don't. I don't think we get triggered so much by racial comments. It's
Hmm,
like
hmm.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, because like we already
Um,
know what we are. So that,
exactly. Yeah.
and not only that, it's kind of like, honestly, before all of this stuff started, like racial humor was much more common, and you'd hear in America, you would hear like Italian jokes, Polish jokes, Irish
Hmm.
jokes. And I mean, it was just part of the landscape. You had a sense of humor. It really wasn't meant with like hatred and all that kind of harshness. But
Yeah.
now it's, I don't know. I mean, the cultural climate under Marxism essentially is, it's changed a lot of that, and it's just worse. But yeah. Mm.
Yeah. I think the kind of it, you know, I think they've taken a leaf out of the whole sort of anti-Semitic type card, you know. So
Yeah.
they afford them the same privileges when it comes to things like that.
So tell us a little bit more about Patriotic Arts Community. What's that all about for people who are new to
So
the show?
if you know what White Art Collective is, we're kind of like the British version of that.
Okay.
We're affiliated with Patriotic Alternative. Obviously,
Mark
I'm
Collette.
good friends. Yeah, I've been good friends with Mark for a long time now. Even before I kind of got more involved in nationalism.
Okay.
And
I have only great things to say about Mark. I adore Mark. He's a true hero.
yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's
And a good guy on top of it. Yeah. A bonus.
Yeah. Yeah,
So how long
he's out to help people. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But like, how long has Patriotic Arts Community been around?
It'll be a few years now, I think.
Okay.
So sorry, I lost my train of thought on that. So yeah,
It's hard to,
Patriotic Arts Community. We're like the British version of White Arts Collective, and
okay.
we do a series of art-based challenges. We started out with the monthly, and that was quite intense. Did
Okay.
loads for about 6 months, and then we had a bit of a break, and we've resurged it the past couple of months, and we're doing more seasonal-based challenges. So every 4 months or so, and we've got a current theme at the minute, which is white-based entertainment.
So another member of the White Art Collective, Jayla Dark, she started it. Yeah, she also started a monthly white themed group. So monthly White Art Challenge is the name of the group, and she's one of the pillar members, the founding members of the White Art Collective as well. So it's just really nice to see how our arts communities are very thriving and very much alive. And there's a lot of people in her group that are not from America. They're all over Europe, Denmark, Germany. So it's exciting. It's really exciting. And my hope and my intention is that this show can at least be a kind of a place where all of these artists and our kind of followers, fan base can meet, and just enjoy some time together and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to kind of get a bit what's the word, kind of lose steam and and kind of not stay productive. But based on what we said before about Jeff on the past streams that you highlighted, it's really important more now than ever to sort of rekindle our creative spirit.
Yeah.
Because that really helps. Yeah, I mean, it really helps to foster, to reestablish ourselves, really, and remind ourselves of who we are.
Right. Excuse me. With the Jeff's recent passing and the memorial shows that I've been doing, a lot of the followers of our community and people in our community are asking what's going to happen, what's next, what's going to happen to the White Art Collective. And so the pillar members have been discussing this. We don't want to get sort of too far into it because Hyrith is, that Hyrith and Jeff had a baby and they work together, and she needs time to grieve and go through her thing. And she's obviously a central pillar in this community. So we kind of want her to be in on the discussion, but she needs some time, of course, to grieve and rebuild her life. But what I can say is that the discussions we've had so far, we basically agree that this is a community, the White Art Collective, and don't write everything in stone. What I'm saying, this is just where we're at the moment. let me show the people what you're doing more. I'm going to kind of zoom in on your screen a bit. So anyway, that we are a community, and that doesn't disappear. That doesn't go away. Jeff had a vision, and he had a business. So White Art Collective was very much a business for him. He produced all kinds of CDs, and I have my art prints at his website. Now, please don't try to buy anything from his website right now because nobody has access to it, so they can't fulfill orders right now. But that per se is over. His business and like things that he produced is over. So unless somebody somehow decides to take that on, I don't know. But what I will say though is that the community is revitalized, like very, very much so. And we really never stopped, but we've just kind of gone into our own paths, our own projects, and we keep in touch with each other. So this is part of why I'm trying to set up new shows, is to have a regular space online where we can all meet, every week and hang out, talk, do things, make art, be a culture. You know what I'm saying? And the
Yeah.
art is certainly, I think of it as like the fire that we dance around. You know what I'm saying? Now, Jeff on the White Art Collective show was very, 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 very much into music. And that's primarily because there's so many musicians in our sphere, like quite a lot. So he featured quite a lot of that. And that
Hmm.
was, yeah, that was fantastic. I am a musician too, but I guess, it looks like maybe someone else in the White Art Collective might take the reins with the music community. And those, I won't get into details because it hasn't been confirmed or anything. But that's sort of, in the wings, I guess, if you will. Um, but yeah, I think that in a sense we're all revitalized. In a sense, we're kind of compelled by Jeff's death
Yeah.
to move forward. And not only that, like the times we're living in are so insane. Like they're so totally insane that we're, in a sense, we are the, how do I say, think of artists during, say, World War II, and whatever they had, or maybe World War I would be a better example, or different times in history where the artists document what's happening in history, and they have a role.
Exactly.
Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
role in that regard. So we are documenting, our communities. We're documenting our struggle with white genocide in this time.
Hmm.
So it's important as an artist to be aware of history and your place in it and your role in it. And as a former art teacher, you know, I part of one of the reasons why I quit is because I was teaching art. And the like the what do you call it, the principal of my school was like, why are you teaching kids to draw? Why are you teaching them about history and things? Like they're supposed to be decorating the halls with like Christmas decorations or Halloween decorations, or and essentially saying like shallow it down, like dumb it down.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's not, like, you get the idea. It's nothing
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the administrator coming to you and saying like, don't do your job, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, the education system's clearly rigged as
Yeah.
well, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
bad. So like that's a funny segue because just yesterday I started a new education show. uh,
Wow.
with I mean, we didn't plan on doing a series. Okay, I'll explain. And again, people in the chat, people watching the playback, go check out this show. It is awesome. So there's an author by the name, he goes by White Student Transmission, White Student P, and he wrote a book on identifying and dealing and having tactics to deal with anti-white doctrine in education. And so his book, it took him years to write, and he went through, oh boy, I mean, all the legal machinations of like, going to school, colleges, and et cetera, and saying like, how can you be, you know, discriminating against whites in this programming when you're saying that we're not supposed to discriminate people on the basis of color? And he found all of the sort of legal aspects of, how that works, and then kind of wrote an instructional book on what to do, like what is it, and how to fight it, like specifically CRT,
Right.
critical race theory. And that's a
Hmm.
big, huge topic in America. I'm not so sure how critical race theory is in the UK, but
Yes, I mean it's not really so prevalent here.
okay.
It's just the fact that you have a lot of the institutions which are just heavily leaning,
Hmm.
heavily biased towards
Hmm.
whites. Sorry, against whites.
Yeah.
And the police force and that. Just everything is woke. Everything is,
Hmm.
against whites as being second class citizens almost. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so that's pretty much the
Well,
extent of it here.
so I mean, I know the UK, obviously Europe, it's its own situation, and the like, but and that could be something interesting for this show, is to sort of talk through those differences, and get
Hmm.
a broader sense of how it's working on both sides of the ponds, and how we could perhaps help each other, with what we know about what's happening. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So the idea with that particular show was that I was going to break it up into several episodes to cover all the chapters in his book. First of all, let me say real quick hello to everybody. There's a bunch of people in the chat, and I am so happy to see you guys. Chief Moody, Tricky Woo, Hollandier, Woodlander, Vardabach. These are some awesome folks here. So
Ah,
I'm
the
really.
Woodlander's watching, eh? Ask him how the woods are.
How are
Do
the
it.
woods, Mr. Woodlander? He's enjoying the show. It's pretty interesting watching two completely different medium produced on the same result, on the same theme. Yes. So yeah, so I'll be kind of bopping back and forth with the screens and whatnot. But we're so happy to have you here. If you guys would please share this link with your networks and whatnot, that would be groovy. So Woodlander says, very nice, a little damp today. Yeah, it's damp where I am too as well. It's got that Halloween dampness. But anyway, so white student T, he and I are, throughout the show, we discovered that like we need to make a regular show training specifically people in education and or students how to start organizations, how to fight back
Hmm.
against this critical race theory system, and doing it from a legally sound platform, if you will, like the sense that these schools are legally bound by certain rules, and they're going to operate within those structures, those frames, if you will. And
Hmm.
so we figured out how to get around that. And like, you can't expect school administrators, teachers in that kind of liberal organization, in that liberal culture, to go along with what we want. But if you put them in a corner, and legally, where it's like, well, you have to do these things because you're discriminating and that's against the law, that changes the whole the whole
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And it becomes, because like I created the analogy that like students, and I should say that teachers in education these days, they've been trained in the martial arts of Marxism.
Hmm.
They know all the judo flips, they know all the punch block routine techniques, etc. And the average student, the average parent, they don't know anything about that. They know that it's wrong, but they don't understand how to fight it. So that's essentially what this show is going to be about, is teaching our people how to fight that. So it's very exciting. I'm really jazzed about it. I'm really glad to
Yeah.
be getting back into this scene, this world of like white positive content, giving content to the movement that's both cultural and educational. You know.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's been a while since I've actually done art, and
mhm,
that's kind of what I was doing a lot before. I was doing regular weekly art pieces, and
mhm, mhm,
yeah, and I kind of got out the loop of it. But it's
mhm.
definitely a good time to get back into it and start
Right,
doing some
right.
nationalist content. Oh yeah.
Big, yeah,
See,
for
this
sure.
is one of the drawbacks of digital art. I think my laptop resource isn't enough. I use the smudge tool, and it's like trying his hardest to not crash.
Yeah, yeah. That's not fun. If for some reason your computer crashes and you need to kind of just relog in, that link that I gave you to the show is still valid. So you just
Okay.
do that, and I'll try to wing it on my own out here.
No,
Which
it's
I've
just a program. It's just
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
thing is with the smudge tool, it can be quite intensive. So
Yeah, I understand. I have Photoshop. I don't. It's funny because for years I did a ton of Photoshop work just for my freelance and what have you. Um, but I don't really do much anymore. I'm pretty good at it, but I just sort of find it kind of tedious. I prefer organic art.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I'm not being like a snob or whatever. I'm just saying it's my preference.
yeah, I understand. I mean, I think I think is it responding now? No, I think
So,
traditional art will have more value in the
mhm.
coming years because of stuff like AI and
Ah,
and
good
digital
point.
art being a lot more rife. I think
That's
it's
actually a very, very good point. Anything that's like made by human hands, you know,
uh-huh, yeah,
not that
exactly.
what you're making isn't made by your hand, right? I mean, it's just a different tool, but
Hmm. Better save this before it's before my
yeah, yeah.
computer crashes.
Save and save often, buddy. Don't forget that one. I
Yeah,
learned
that
that the
is.
hard way. I learned that the hard way in the past. Yeah.
Right.
Oh boy, one time I was I was doing a freelance gig. It was basically a graphic for the cover of a bar, where you go to a bar and get drinks. And
Hmm.
the bar itself was like 12 feet long. And then underneath there was kind of a giant Photoshop image underneath it. And then they would like kind of laminate it onto the bar. This is many
Okay.
years ago. Anyway, I was really kind of new to freelance and Photoshop, and I didn't understand that a 12-foot long image is going to crash and crash and crash. And like I did so
Yeah.
much work, and then the computer would crash, and I would basically scream and cry, and then it happened again, and of course, save and save often. That's the
Yeah.
motto.
I
You
know.
know.
I've been caught out many times.
Hmm.
So, so where are most of your audience from?
Well, golly gee, that's a good question. I I'd say I have a pretty fair split between Europe and America. Um, it's just wonderful how many European friends I have now. I'm like like in love with Europe.
Yeah.
I'm like sort of a Europhile, I guess is what you might call me. But quite a lot in America, and I mean they're just sort of all over. Um, I'm surprised at how many people from like say Denmark are out there. In Sweden, a couple Finns. It's nice to see these guys involved,
Mhm.
making music or just kind of being a part of the community. I just did a show on Hollandier, who is Hollandier in the audience? I think he is. But his artwork's lovely, and Ash's artwork, his music is lovely. I think of it as artwork. Oh wow, we've got a friend from Spain here, Carlo. I can never pronounce your last name. I'll just call you Carlo. But it's lovely to have you. Thank you for being with us. So that's great. Yeah. Um, you know what we don't have? I'd say like barely any of is people from Eastern Europe. You know, people
Really?
from Russia and stuff. I might have one or two, or have, but generally, I feel like that's where we're lacking. Like we should be reaching out to those communities somehow. And I don't know how,
Mhm.
but I don't know if it's a language issue. I get the sense that Western Europeans are more adept at English, and so they kind of have access to our culture more. I don't know. Is that true? I don't know if that's true or not.
Um, I think the natural divide with East and Western Europe from communism and
Yeah.
they're not going through the same struggles as us. So I don't think
Okay.
they tend to seek out our circles so
Right.
much.
Oh, okay.
There's not as many the same talking points. Like Romania, for
Yeah.
example,
Mhm.
former communist country,
Yeah.
but their own problems with gypsies and stuff,
Uh,
which I think they started to kind of migrate around into um, into these lands about 400 years ago.
really.
So yeah, they've been here a long time. But the thing is, they've always kept themselves distant and separate.
Okay.
So it's not been a massive problem so
Okay.
much.
Hmm. I heard the news recently about um, a liberal party taking power in Poland, which is very bad news. Very, very
Yeah,
bad news. And I mean, I always think of Poland as being like one of the most almost utopian kind of states in the West, in terms of their policies and how pure
yeah.
they are. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I thought them and Hungary. I thought they were kind of
Yeah.
leading the way on being like a kind of a base, no nonsense kind of.
Hmm. It's interesting because it just shows how our enemies know, you think you're independent. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to go after you. And I know there's a side of it though where you have to sort of blame us, and not us meaning all of us, and that there are whites that fall for this kind of liberal bogus, whatever. I
Hmm.
mean, what is the benefit of having your country overrun by foreign illegals and migrants and burning your churches and and all of the evils that we're living through?
Yeah, I don't think they.
Pretty
I
harsh.
don't think they understand what's they're actually signing up for. To be honest,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of it is because the internet, for example, is so widespread.
Yeah.
It's conditioning the minds of people um,
Hmm.
from within without how can a sincere government actually control that
Mm.
without completely blocking them from the internet.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So, well, let me talk a little tiny bit about the show here. We're doing this now, but what we'd like to do is take requests later in the show. And I'm thinking it's Halloween, so maybe some Halloween themes a bit later. Um, we're How do I say? I feel like it's really important to do this topic right now in terms of like the theme of it is so important.
mhm.
So this has to be done. We can have more fun, I guess, on other shows, but I feel right now the situation with this event of Robert E. Lee's statue being melted down is something we have to respond to.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely.
what we're doing.
I did have in mind to do a piece on this earlier
Cool.
in the week, but I didn't
So
quite get around to it.
I guess I read your minds then, huh?
Something like that, yeah.
Let's see
That
if
needs more
there's any.
orange.
I'm gonna post a few. Also, I love having interaction with the chat. Anyone who's new to my show, it's fun to. It's really all about community. So I'll post your comments, questions as well. So feel free to just, obviously we're focused on our art a bit, but let's talk, okay? So we got our friend in Spain, Carlos says, I talked to a Polish friend online last week. She couldn't believe that things would be so bad in the West. She lives in a small town in Poland and doesn't know what's coming to them in the next decades. Ah, so I mean,
Sad.
I don't know what I would do is try to like hook her up with our culture, get her any kind of links, information, everything and anything, and have her push that out into the Polish culture as well. So that would be, we got to do that. Let's see if there's any other things. Oh boy, we got some high wind forecasts for some people. I guess you guys are in the UK. Anybody familiar with what's the name? John Taylor Gatto knows the dumbing down was deliberate. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's all been the program essentially. Woodlander is saying here that it's really interesting to watch two completely different mediums being produced at the same time. Yeah, that is fun. Actually, I didn't know that Paul would be doing digital until like we started the show. I don't know. I just assumed that we would both be doing whatever.
Traditional.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, traditional. Thank you. See, my English no good. Sorry, I needed you to help me out there. Tricky Woo says, let's see what Tricky Woo has to say. Look at what Israel is attempting to do to Palestine. That's what they want for all of us. 100,000%. That's super, super. That literally is Noah Hyde law right there. So, I mean, their first target, I would say, is Iran. It's the Greater Israel Project is to take over all of Iran, and then including actually some other parts of other countries there as well. You can look up the Greater Israel Project, but that's meant for all of us. Anyway, yeah. So if you guys have questions or anything, please feel free to pop that out there, and we'll happily discuss. Keep it clean, all right, boys. But yeah, there you go. So
I've had enough of trying to use a smudge tool to create my own smoke. So I'm going to cheat as I can with the digital art, and I'm going to download an art texture, a smoke texture.
Oh, nice. It's funny how when you're in the arts, there's all these quote cheats, things that you do that like, well, I don't know, going to use this tool instead of that, and it'll look just as good. I think what I should do one of these days is try to combine my organic traditional art with digital art, like take it into Photoshop and then manipulate it more. I'm not, of course, the first person to do that, but I just feel like I could probably do a lot of cool stuff. Also,
sure.
we didn't. I think we had the idea that we can give this artwork to other digital artists in our culture and let them have at it. So like I'll give an image, or I'll give a digital copy of this to say Wave Guy, for example, and then okay, just go nuts, like it's all yours, man. Or Flash Gorgon. Flash Gorgon is from France, super close friend of mine. Highly, highly admire him. I really wish I could get him more on the show. His English is very good, so and he's extremely intelligent, and I just love his takes on things. But I think he's a little a little shy, or he doesn't want the spotlight, something like that.
Okay. He did a submission into Patriotic Arts community once. It's some really cool work.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. There's so many great people in our sphere, so many great artists,
So as you can see, I cheated there with the smoke. But
Uh-oh, you cheated. Go
I'm
to the
allowed.
principal. All right. We'll give you a pass this time. Okay.
Yeah. I actually decided to purchase Photoshop now. So I've got the latest version.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's just a little bit different. It probably takes more resource than I'd have liked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how are you guys liking the show? Is it interesting for you visually to enjoy us doing some art live? Let's see what Chief Moody, welcome to the show, Chief Moody. This might be a rhetorical question, but what are your thoughts on brutalism? So I'm new-ish to brutalism. I discovered it on Twitter not long ago, and everything that I've seen from those posts I like so far. But I don't know, maybe you could do a short description of what brutalism is for the guests and for the show. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, I don't know what it is myself.
And then also if you know, like say the Twitter for that channel or any information you can share, that'd be cool. Hollandier says that Flash Gorgon is cool. And is a cool dude, yeah. So Hollandier adds, it's very nice to see the different approaches to the topic, and the process is interesting. Oh, thank you very much. Cool beans. Now, I was actually going to have music on in the background, but
some synth music, that would have been nice.
Yeah, I know. Well, let me explain. So most of my shows I do with my phone, and the phone microphone can handle my voice and background music. But with the camera that I need for this show, the microphone's in the camera, and I tested it before the show today. And if I have background, it can't focus on something in the foreground and the background at the same time. Okay. It jarbles and garbles, and it turns, you can't hear what I'm saying, essentially. So I'm sorry for that. My deepest apologies.
Maybe we can look into.
I could pull out my guitar. Maybe I should do that.
Play with your feet whilst drawing, and that would be creative.
Yeah, I'm gonna draw with my toes and play guitar with my feet. How about this? Now that is worth $5 for sure. So another quick thing too, I am going to auction this drawing. And the process for auctioning this is that I'll have you guys, if somebody would like to purchase it, if you go to my website, kent-art.weebly.com, you can easily find the website address on the YouTube channel. And then go to contact and just write down a price. I'm thinking I'm going to start this off at 75, and then whoever sends in the highest bid, I will reply to you, and then I will, I need to get your address, and I use Venmo. I suppose I can get. I think I have some other. Maybe I've got Cash App. I can't remember. I've got some other payment processor, but we'll do that privately and figure that out. So that way you can have a piece of history. Yeah. Oh, let's get back to some comments here. So our buddy Chief Moody is saying, from Wikipedia, brutalist architecture is an architectural style that emerged during the 1950s in the United Kingdom among the reconstruction projects of the post-war era, but commonly known for its its presence in post-war communist nations. I guess I'm thinking of something else then, because if you're talking about like communist architecture, which is very like I believe I made a mistake because there's somebody on Twitter that goes by the name Brutalist or has some sort of brutalist philosophy. And what it is just like a super masculine approach to our culture, like, white identity, um, art, aesthetics, behavior, lifting weights. Like it's got that sort of culture to it. So I think I misunderstood your question. But like communist architecture is known to be completely dehumanizing. It's very sort of block structure. It's just purely what's the word, utilitarian. Um, that's an interesting question. Let's see if there's any other comment. Okay, we've got Woodlander says, I think of the horrendous 1970s concrete architecture of city centers when I hear brutalized. I'd be interested on what you think of Chief Moody. So yeah, it's I don't I don't think anything beautiful came out of communism. The only thing that I do like that is communist in the art world is Chinese 1950s Chinese communist paintings, like murals and the like. Now that's because, in a sense, they're really more Chinese than they are communist, in the sense that it's the Chinese using Western style painting techniques to paint these like idealized utopian images of like, oh, look how wonderful, our society is going to be. We're making the great leap forward, and no, la la la, all this bullshit, which I know quite a lot about, having lived in Asia for 5 years and taught in these communities and known people who suffered under the Cultural Revolution and all these things. It's not what they said it is, right? But if anyone looks up like Chinese communist paintings 1950s, you'll see some actually really nicely done paintings. It's just too bad that it's all a big lie, and that, like, of course the genocide of the Tibetan people. And now there's Tibetan people alive today, but the culture is essentially genocided by communism. I talked a bit about this on one of my recent streams, and that's essentially what they're trying to do to us. Is to make it illegal to talk about certain things, and on and on and on, just the usual stuff that we know. But let's see what else we got here. Great stream, gents. Cool beans. I'm glad you guys are liking this. I think this was Patriarch's idea, the double screen thing. I don't know. I don't really remember whose idea, but it's wonderful that we're doing it. So quite happy you guys are here. Great stream, gents. I'll check back to see the finished results. Time to put the chickens to bed. All right, you got priority. So Chief Moody, second. Let me switch back to Paul's screen here as well. Never mind. Okay. I think brutalist architecture or brutalism is awful. Nothing great ever comes of communism. Totally agree. Rory, great to have you back, Rory. Nice to see you. Weren't the communists infamous for building impressive facades, but not actual buildings? I don't know. Well, what's freaky is all these ghost cities in China. Have you guys seen any of that? It's part of the collapse of their economy. It's just
insane. Didn't they put like so much money into infrastructure, and they were like propped up by essentially loans, kind of like the 2008 crash, and there's no people to actually pay for it.
Right. I've heard that like China's sort of on the brink or in a kind of an economic crash, I'd have to have an economist on the show to talk more intelligently about it. My channel says, is brutalism a comic book style? It sounds like it would make a badass comic book style. That's actually a great concept right there. All right, so let's kind of get back to work a little bit here. Oh, Hippocratic Oath. I love that name, Hippocratic Oath. This is makes me laugh. Says the Ugnaughts shouldn't get the stake. They are merely the golem of the cowardly small hats. There were no small hat abolitionists. Now they virtue signal on slavery. So if you guys speak code, you will understand that encrypted message right there. Yeah, so the White Art Collective is kind of, like I said, it's really a community now. Jeff had his business, and that is like technically what the White Art Collective is his business. But ultimately, it's the community. It's all of us. And everybody who kind of came into their own through Jeff and all the opportunities that he gave us, all the encouragement he gave us. So, we're carrying it on in our own ways. My buddy Nullis, who did the poetry show on White Art Collective, he's been talking about getting the poetry show going again. That show's called Conversations with the Wind. I actually co-hosted a lot of those shows. Nobody's doing a poetry show in our sphere. It's a very unique niche, and he's highly dedicated to it. Nullis has that perfect balance of like intelligence and humor. He's like just a really a guy's guy. Like you go have a beer with him kind of thing, but also he could like he really needs to be a college professor. Like he's just got so much knowledge. He's so well spoken. And so it's just enjoyable. And for people who are interested in academics, culture, poetry, it's a very enriching show. The other thing too is like poetry has such a long history for our people in our past, and we don't really see any emphasis on it anymore that I know of. And if there is, it's more kind of in the leftist cultural sphere. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
he's single-handedly kind of taking that back, and I feel like the audience should get on board with that. We should support that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's my speech, and I'm done. Okay. I'm sorry.
we definitely need to support each other more, and just generally just make more of an effort. It's so easy to get slack and black pilled and stuff, but that's essentially what they want. They want you to just be willing to sit down, do nothing, and die. And that's it.
Freaking nailed it. Just how like when people are in the streets and they're say like, oh, I don't agree with this or that, and they always say like, get out of here, like go away, and I'm like, go away, like, I mean that's very, very literally what they want you to do, is to stop trying. Don't talk about this, don't represent yourself, disappear. And so just simply representing yourself, just simply making art and culture is an offense to them. It's somehow a threat to them, which of course is absurd. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. Yeah.
No, we are not. Definitely not going anywhere.
No.
But it's white pilling to see a lot of people actually waking up, just general Joe normies,
See,
and people are starting really to have enough, and that's a good thing.
So I want to speak to that. I have been a pretty hardcore edgelord, a meme lord on Telegram and in social media for years. And that's a kind of culture war, a political culture war, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
there's dangers, there's damage, there's toxicity, there's things that are really rough about it. And I'm finally at a place now where I feel like I can let go of the wheel because there's so many more people in there now, and the Overton window has moved so much that, like, I feel that it's got its own momentum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's exactly what you were saying about, like, it's amazing how many more people, like, being J-pilled is going mainstream right now, essentially. With this
Mm-hmm.
sort of World War II situation or World War III situation boiling.
Well, they really are trying to push for a world war, aren't they?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's 100%
and
true.
I think it's out of desperation, to be honest, because
Many
it's
people
like
say the same. Yeah, go
it's
on.
if you play like a game StarCraft, for example, I used to play a lot of these strategy games.
Hmm.
Now, if you're thirsty for resource and you're running out,
Hmm. Yeah.
you need to go and attack the other team. You need to
uh,
go and claim their resource so that
yeah.
your empire, your system, your set of governing
Hmm. Yeah.
principles and whatnot it can survive.
Hmm.
And that's
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
where the West is, I think. Um,
Yeah. Well, our enemies depend on working covertly and through lies and infiltration. And because of the internet, they've gradually lost that footing. And they know that everybody knows who they are. Not everybody, but, like, people are really, really, really catching on. I think COVID really had a huge part in that, because people had much, much more time to be online, and
mm,
they started questioning things and sharing things, and it just basically mushroomed from there. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
So now the cat's out of the bag and they can't put it back in. And there you go. So they're trying to accelerate their final solution is what I'll call it. Which is, of
yeah.
course.
I mean, there's that train of thought, or there's the train of thought whereby everything is in place. The West is pretty much in a position where we, we're kind of we have our own problems literally at home now, and the time to strike and ferment the
Mhm.
well, well, from Israel's stance, they probably think that they need to strike now. The time is right.
Yes, they do. They do. That's what this war is. I mean, it's, as they say, fake and gay. Like there's a quote I saw recently from an Israeli general saying that, Hamas is our enemy, but they're also our ally, covertly. And the meaning of
Yeah.
that is that, the fact that they exist and that they do what they do gives Israel the opportunity to create fake ops, to go in there and, bomb something, bomb their own people and say, oh, look what Hamas did. We got to get all the nations of the world in on this. And it
Hmm.
just, people are, especially with, like, uh, Biden leaving all these weapons in Afghanistan, and everybody's just done with it. We're done. We're done with the bullshit. It's not the like the Bush era anymore. People
Yeah.
don't buy it
True.
anymore. They don't. Yeah, and they can see how Israel is really, really driving it. And then our guys are out there, doing what we do. Like, what was it? What's his name? Alex Jones was just kind of like talking frankly about the Jews, even though that's put him in a very difficult position, because he's essentially, owned by them, and da 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 da. So, like, the prevalence of people like Nick Fuentes coming out, it's all boiling up and boiling over, if you will.
Hmm.
I don't know that anyone can measure it and say exactly, like, this is where we're at, and this is, nothing's definite or set in stone. But you can kind of get the sense of things, and it's definitely moving forward for us.
Yeah, we need to wake up. I mean, I don't know. I don't think your Muslim problem is as bad as it is in here, is it? In the UK, because we literally have whole states. Like, for example, there's Bradford, which they call Bradistan. You know, there's Sheffield is quite a heavy Islamic population, and you know, and they are literally expecting to take over at some point, and our politicians are just. I mean, they can't be that stupid. You can't. No one in the right mind can think putting contrasting cultures together, different groups with totally different ideologies and worldviews. Are ever going to work? So there's clearly some global agenda, and part of it is dismantling the West as a challenge to that, as the sons or offspring of the people that built the original, the old world, really.
It's a massive problem. I'm like extremely against how do I say this? Muslims living in the West. I feel that we're 100% totally incompatible. There's just no reason whatsoever for Muslims to live in our countries at all. Whatever baloney, like, oh, let's be compassionate or something. These people have been in civilizational war with us for centuries. Ask anybody who's living in Eastern Europe knows all about that. They've got songs and histories and stories and on and on. They're the ones who had the horrible, bloody wars with Islamic nations, and they suffered the most, right? Because they're right on the border there. So I don't know. I mean, it's a topic that I think people have kind of questioned for a long time. It seems that Western Europe is more liberal, and liberalism is the downfall. That's the thing that kind of messes us up.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
I mean, I grew up really with. As a child, I grew up with playing with Pakistanis, Hindus, Sikhs. So, it's one of them things. It reminds me of. Did you ever see that film, the Disney film, The Fox and the Hound?
I did years ago. When I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it's quite a touching film, and it's kind of that's how I see things. Ultimately, the fox and the hound, they have different roles in life. That's just given to them by nature,
Yes.
And when they're young, they play around. They're not. They don't have the responsibility of their roles. They don't have their differences in play yet. But as these puppies, this puppy and this little fox cub, they kind of befriend each other, and later on, they kind of have to go against each other, and it's kind of growing up with different cultures. Then your differences aren't apparent. You just play football, you play Kirby, you play runoff and things like that, and it's only later on in life where it's like the things that actually matter, the continuation of your people. You actually realize that actually it's us or them. Because every people, every culture wants to project itself into the world. And
they have their own country.
Exactly. Unfortunately, this is our space to thrive, to be to continue our people, our ways, and our culture. And unfortunately, you want the same as what we want, but this is our land, so it's
ultimately they're using our resources. They're taking our resources, our land, our economy, our medicine, our technology, on and on and on. There's if the shoe were on the other foot and whites were outpopulating them in their own countries, they'd be crying and crying and crying, right? And I'm sure there would be far more violence to those people too. Not that they're not violent enough to us now, but um, it's a big topic. Let me jump over to the audience here. We got a lot of. Jim is here. Hollandier says,
Hello.
let's see, hold on, leave it open. They hop in. I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to look at Hollandier. Says the greatest feat of our politicians has been to make our people think them stupid, for the stupid can be forgiven. The intentionally malign cannot. Wow, that's a good insight. It's a very good insight. Yeah. This has been a question I've been kind of grappling with just like the nature of white people in general, and how I don't know, sort of when we're operating within our own culture where we are the majority, and it's a high trust society, we don't need to worry so much about like infiltration, about who's democracy only makes sense if everybody's 100% the same. Otherwise, it's a garbage system. Because someone who's from the out group is going to vote for their interest, not yours, and you get more of the out group, and then bang, you're democracy. So you hear the Democrats and the establishment constantly say, we have to protect our democracy, and this is going to be the end of our democracy. Democracy is your way of screwing everybody else. It's the system that you lie through. It's how you sneak in under the radar. It's so like the system itself is shit, and I'm totally against democracy now. But I mean, if it were just all people like us and we all had the same values and such, then I would be a little more comfortable with it. But in the end, it also it begs the question of like, why are we using a vote to decide on what's right for us? We should find out just the fact of what is right for us. If we know, like, oh, we need to build a dam on this bridge because every 5 years there's a flood. We don't vote on something like that. Like, here's a fact, and then you deal with the fact. So you make the bridge, whatever it is. So anyway, that's just me ranting. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
No, I get it. I mean, how can you have democracy anyway when you have all the media outlets which shape and mold the minds of the people anyway? So it's just constant whispering in the ear about people.
Totally true. I mean, democracy depends on an informed public. So it's like, oh, okay, fine, we'll take over all the media, and then we'll just make everyone think what we want them to think. Exactly. So for the audience, I'm almost done with this piece, and like I said, I'm going to auction it. So I'm starting it off at 75. If anybody's interested in this piece, go to my website, which I'm actually going to post in the chat real quick, and you can contact me through there. Give me a second. Kent-art.weebly.com. And then whoever has the highest bid, I will reply, and then we'll transfer the money and give me your address, and I'll send this artwork to you in the mail. So that would be groovy. Also, I'm going to give a digital copy of this to some of our digital artists, Flash Gorgon, Wave Guy, and then let them play with it and see what they come up with, and hopefully next show.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Hopefully
I
next
might
show.
I might have a quick blast myself actually.
Oh, really? How about that? I would totally love that.
It maybe make a nice graphic piece out of it. I know Wave Guy would do something like that. He's
he's just a machine. He's like an art machine. I kid you not. That guy is a monster. I love him.
Art Factory. This is a. I've just taken an AI piece, and I'm starting to incorporate little bits of this AI stuff into.
Oh, really?
Into the art. I mean, I use AI sometimes Just to really, almost because it just like painting with pictures. I don't like to just completely have an AI piece do it for me, but sometimes utilizing it, the aesthetics, and
Right.
you know, like the little figures that I was drawing weren't really good, so this can get me some quick results.
Nice. There's other people that are doing that. Flash Gorgon has really tortured AI to the point where he's been able to get like some pretty amazing results. I guess it takes time though, because you have to have the right prompts. You know, you have to be able to tell it.
There's that, I think.
You have to be able to tell it what you want very clearly.
Yeah. I mean, AI is not really that intelligent. It's really not sentient at all. It's actually quite stupid. It's just a complex set of on and offs. You know, like pure logic.
Yeah.
And if you're not 100% clear on what you want it will put it out.
Yeah. Oh, I tell you. Well, I'm loving this show, man. I think this is really cool. We're I looked at the clock. It's 1:11. So the Lord.
How long do we have?
Yeah. Well, we can go for however long you like. It looks like you need more time with your piece. I'm going to switch over to requests. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to request and any kind of theme artwork, I want to take a second to look at my book out here, Imperium Calling. Once again, kent-art.weebly.com. It's in the YouTube here. You can pick up a copy of this. It's got some of my poetry. There's a foreword by Spencer J. Quinn, who writes for Countercurrents. A lot of my kind of fine art. I've got illustration work in here from different projects that I've done over the years. I've got some comics you can see. I do a regular art stream on my comic or my graphic novel Militia Man.
Awesome.
Yeah, Militia
Man. Is that
Man.
an ongoing series or?
So I'll describe this a little bit. So I came up with this idea for a graphic novel, and it's like about 5 or 6 issues, and it essentially kind of brings together everything in my wheelhouse of it's essentially like the Watchmen for our time. So it's meant to take everything that we're dealing with and put it into one story, you know, in terms of but it's sort of coded in such a way that it's fun, you know.
Does it have nationalist themes?
Say again?
Does it have sort of nationalist?
Oh God, hugely, massively. Cool. Militia Man starts off as a kind of a normie conservative Republican, and then through a series of events gets more and more red-pilled and more red-pilled till in the end he's kind of like the fascist Superman. Right. I don't want to use the word fascist because not everybody really knows the true definition of that, and it's not the leftist definition of it. He's not a tyrant. He's not evil. He saves the world from essentially demons. So kind of drop it like that. But here's the thing: is I recently came up with the thought that, you know, like, this is going to take me a long freaking time, and then I've got to fund it because I have to have it colored and lettered and published. So I created a mountain for myself to climb, and then it's going to be rough to get it all done. It'll take a lot of time. And what I'm feeling right now is the urgency to just do like a weekly web comic and have so I'm trying to finish what I started, but in my heart it's killing me because I'm like, you know what, if I could just do a page a week which is fully illustrated, colored, and lettered, and then people can just tune in, they can watch me make the art, but then at the end of the week, bang, they got the next episode, or it's not episode, it's next page, you know. 'Cause,
yeah,
I'm one guy with a full-time job, single dad scenario. Um, and that way I could actually be telling the story that is like live, so to speak. It's like happening now with our culture, and it's responding to things. So like this piece right here was written, or this story right here was written by Kai Moros from Finland. If you guys are savvy, you will know that Kai Moros is one of the great speech writers for our movement, and he's written a lot for Britain. To be honest, I just had his one of his speeches for Britain on one of my live streams. You can look Kai Moros speech, look it up on my YouTube. So anyway, in this story, I mean, again, he wrote it, I illustrated it, and it's a slave market in the UK where these Muslims are selling little girls.
okay,
Very harsh, very, very harsh. And how the police and the government are working with them to do that. It's very offensive, and it's upsetting. But that's what it's supposed to be, right? I mean, these kinds of things are upsetting. They're horrible. They're not. They shouldn't happen. So
no, well, that sounds
anyway,
cool.
yeah. Well, we can kind of go into that more in the future, but I want to see if anyone in the audience would like to maybe give me a Halloween theme, a request. And I'm taking requests if you want to see Dracula or anything you can come up with. But if I'm not going to wait like a super long, I want to kind of jump in on it and get going, because I guess the show should be about an hour and a half, but it could go longer. It's really, Patriot, if you need more time, there's no pressure. I'm off today. I'm not like in a rush, so it's totally fine.
Well, we can always. It's up to you. We can wrap up, and I mean, I'll probably refine this until I'm happy with it anyway. To be honest,
Okay.
so I'll just tell everyone. I'll tell you what. Let me just do a quick little sketch of what I expect to.
Okay.
What I expect it to look like towards the end. I may have another extra figures here closer. Some figures closer here, dancing, celebrating. A bit further, closer to the thing. I envisioned at the back there. I might even be able to take this. In the smoke, it was going to be an almost the original statue. Was he on horseback? He was on horseback.
Yes. There's many. Some he's on horseback, but I think this was just him standing, though.
Yeah. So anyway, he's going to be there horseback, almost like smoke.
Wow! Check out the fancy effects we have in this show. Here we got sound effects now.
And obviously, I'm really rusty at drawing, but he's going to be rising up out of this thing in the smoke, and with him are going to be loads of different faces, which is essentially symbolic of us as an army of Robert.
Oh, wow, that's nice. That's freaking awesome.
So that's what I envisioned. And obviously in the backdrop there'll be more stars, and so essentially you got it's a schism of the celebration of his demise, and at the top half you've got this rising rebirth, and hopefully it just kind of shows a bit of hope that these things don't destroy us, they just make us more refined and stronger.
Well, that is certainly what we're working towards. So I love your idea. I think it's a wonderful concept.
Yeah, there we are.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a little bit rusty as well, to be honest. I'm nowhere near as efficient as I was. Like, it must be about 6 months since I've done these.
Doing this show weekly like this is really going to get your skills nice and tight.
Hmm.
And so I'm
Yeah.
so happy to get, yeah, I'm so happy to be getting back into this kind of thing as well. I've been focusing mostly on comic book illustration, and I do fine art. You know, I do Chinese landscape painting, and I do graphic design. I do a lot of stuff, but I miss doing fine art. You know, I miss things like portraiture, etc. I'm gonna angle this a little bit better so that it looks more proper. But yeah, so we'll figure maybe check the chat a little bit here, um, and see what people are talking about. Once again, my YouTube, or rather, sorry, my website address is on screen right now.
Hmm.
If you would like to purchase this, the bidding starts at 75. Go to the contact page, and you will be able to reach me. Um, Send your bid in. If whoever's the highest, I'll reply, let you know how to pay me, how to get it to you, et cetera, and then we'll be doing this again next week on Tuesday. It looks like maybe 12 noon for now, or are we gonna? Because I'm okay with 12 noon.
Yeah, this is
Right.
an ideal time for me, to be honest. I
Okay.
quite enjoy it.
Cool.
So
All right.
yeah,
So.
yeah. So if I can just plug the contest we've got for Patriotic Arts Community,
Please do.
we are doing white-based entertainment. There's two current
Mhm.
contests going off. There's a creative contest. So the idea is to essentially create a story or tell a story, a white-based story. You could do it in the form of a poster, like
Mhm.
think up a type of movie that you'd like to see. Do a poster, could have like a protagonist there with a sexy blonde on the side, or not sexy, but
Woo!
you know, like a a nice classy lady on his side, you know, looking
That's
to
the
the man.
lady.
Just we're trying to kind of recoup the traditional morals.
Mhm.
So you could do a movie poster, you could write a poem, or like a short story, or like a scene of a script that you'd like. You could do a
Mm.
storyboard, anything creative which tells your own sort of story, white-based entertainment that isn't woke.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
the other side of that is the other contest running to it is to add your favorite white-based entertainment movies or TV series that you actually can watch now into the
Mhm.
pack database. So we've got an entertainment archive.
Mm.
If you head over there,
Wow.
the website is patrioticarts.community, and
Mhm.
basically list 3 to 5 of your favorite pieces of entertainment. One of the most popular ones at the minute, for example, is Conan the Barbarian. Someone listed that, and there's some other really good shows that people have listed, and yeah, so everyone can get involved. Basically, we're on Telegram.
Patriotic patrioticarts.community, that's the website?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The extension is .community.
Okay, great. Okay. So I'm putting that on the screen so people will see it
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
and you'll be able to find all the other social links to Telegram, which is where we mostly kind of hang out and share stuff.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful. Fabulous. I think this has been an amazing show. I'm super, super glad we're doing this together, Patriarch.
Yeah, I've
And
enjoyed it.
yeah, it's a blast. And the themes are super important to our cause. We're remoralizing our people. We're taking back our narrative and doing what needs to be done. So, and it really all is about you guys in the audience. So please share, please subscribe, get these stories to these shows out to our people. You know, we're producing the content. You are the delivery system. Get it out into the world, into our world, and help us, you know, with our cause. So, any
Brilliant.
closing thoughts? Any closing thoughts?
That is a very nice portrait. It's really good.
Oh,
I really enjoy it.
um,
It's
great.
yeah.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Yeah,
Well
let's take
done.
a quick peek at yours one more time here. So that's going to be
I'm
extremely
gonna
powerful.
quick zoom in.
Yeah, zoom in a little bit. I love the concept. It's just epic.
Yeah. Everything will
It's
be
got,
refined, and
of course. Yeah.
I'll probably spend another 3 or 4 hours on this, to be honest, because I know what I'm like. To be honest, sometimes that's why I leave it so long to actually get back into it, because I know it's just gonna it's
Yeah.
you know, I put time into stuff too much.
It's a rabbit hole. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectionist.
I
You
get it.
spend hours
Yeah.
refining something. It's like, wow.
I hear you. I hear you, brother.
But
All right. Well,
anyway, thanks to everyone for tuning in. And like Donald says, help us share and help support us. And we're trying to revigor the community through art.
brilliant. All right. God bless everybody. We will see you next time.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.